Final update. My sister kissed my fiance on our engagement night, but my family took her side. 5 years later, she is at my doorstep begging for money, and my family is furious I won't give her a dime. Something really big happened today. I was at work when I received a call from my neighbor, saying that there was a couple outside my house screaming for me to come out and talk to them. My neighbor told me that they seemed pretty crazy and had been screaming at the door for about an hour, refusing to leave. I asked her for a description of them, but in my heart, I already knew who it was. She told me how they looked, and it just confirmed that I was indeed going to run into Melissa and Lucas when I got back home. My neighbor told me that I needed to come back and deal with this because she didn't think that these two were up to any good, and I agreed. When it was Melissa and Lucas we were talking about, they could never be up to any good. So, I thanked her and started driving back home immediately because I couldn't risk them getting into my house at any cost. I got there in about 15 minutes, luckily, and caught them in the act of trying to break into my house by picking the lock on my door. I pulled up in front of my house and asked them what the hell they thought they were doing. I tried to call the police immediately, but Lucas was as quick as lightning and he rushed over to me and knocked the phone out of my hand. Melissa also walked over to me and told me that they were here just to talk and they didn't want anything from me, not at the moment, at least. I told them to make it quick and also said that they shouldn't expect me to invite them inside, so whatever they had to talk about had to be discussed out there in the yard. They seemed to be okay with that, which was a relief because I really didn't think that it would be a good idea to invite those two inside. Close quarters, they already seemed pretty hostile, so I didn't know what to expect since they'd said they didn't want anything from me. Melissa started talking and told me that our mother had told her about that phone call and how I ignored the subsequent texts from her, and then even blocked them all. She told me that the way I was behaving was very unfair and that it had been 5 years since then, so I should really be over it by now. Instead, I was resorting to such silly and dramatic acts just to get a little bit of attention from my family. She said that she'd felt very insulted because of how I had refused to help them, and that's what she was here to talk to me about. She said that she'd been able to arrange the money for now, but there was a very strong chance that she might need more in the future. Because she'd sold their house and all their jewelry to get the money this time, she obviously couldn't do that again, and so she had to know that she could fall back on me and rely on me for help when she needed it. I told her that no, she couldn't, and she must not count on me at all under any circumstances because I hate her and her husband with a passion. I was so angry that I also told her that it was taking me a lot of restraint to not hit her at the moment, so it would be in their best interest to just leave. Lucas had the audacity to say that they weren't going anywhere until I signed a document that would confirm that I would give them money in the future whenever they needed it. I mean, it wouldn't even be valid if I was forced to sign it under pressure. I'm pretty sure there are laws against it, and also they must be insane if they actually thought that they could manipulate me into signing something like that. I told both of them to get the hell out, and Melissa pushed me, saying that I had to help them because apparently I owe this to them since they were family and I couldn't just run away from my responsibilities like this. I was shocked that she'd actually pushed me and I was about to slap her, but I controlled the urge to do that because things would only get worse if I got violent. Instead, I decided to grab my phone, which had fallen to the ground when Lucas knocked it out of my hand, and made a run for it. I climbed into my car as quickly as I could and then drove off without even bothering to check my rearview mirror. I hadn't bothered to shut off the engine when I had left the car, so it was still running and it didn't take me much time to get a head start on them. Obviously, they were not stupid enough to chase after me on foot, so they just waited there at my house, which was pretty unfortunate. As soon as I was a safe distance away from them, I decided to call the police and tell them what was going on. Then, I drove back to my house just in the nick of time because the police had already arrived within 20 minutes. I filled them in on everything and they arrested and took Melissa and Lucas away. I knew that the charges weren't that serious and they would get off pretty easily, but it was still worth it because at least they were taken away, and I didn't have to waste any more of my time with them. It's been a couple of hours since then, and I haven't heard from anyone in my family, which is strange because I'd figured that by now at least one of them would have tried to contact me from some other number, but they haven't. So, I'm guessing that they're either just over everything and aren't going to try and get under my skin again, or they're just waiting it out and biding their time so they can contact me later when things are a little less tense. Update 3. Hi, so the last update was about a week ago and I'd honestly started to believe that my family was actually not going to bother me again because I had called the cops on Melissa and Lucas. But I was wrong, even that didn't stop them from disturbing me yet again. This time, it was my parents who showed up at my house asking me if they could speak to me for a moment. This happened yesterday, and they seemed a lot less arrogant compared to Melissa and Lucas, so I let them in. My mother started crying pretty much as soon as she entered the house and told me how sorry she was that she'd ever taken Melissa's side over mine. My father told me that after they learned of Melissa and Lucas being arrested because of their behavior, and also that they had physically pushed me, they couldn't bring themselves to look at them the same way and had decided that they were going to cut them off. My mother continued to cry throughout the time that she was here, while my father explained that they were apologetic for siding with Melissa in the past when it was actually me who was the victim. While I said that I did appreciate them for finally coming to their senses, right now it was too little and too late for things to get better. I was used to living my life on my own terms now, and I didn't want to go back to putting my family before myself. So, as much as I appreciated their visit and apology to me, I really couldn't promise them that I would work on this relationship because I just didn't feel that there was any point in trying to salvage an already ruined relationship, even if it is with my parents. They protested a little at that point and said that we could fix this if we wanted to, but that was exactly where the problem was. I didn't want it anymore. I just wanted to be by myself, that's all, and I told them I respected their efforts, but I was done here. They seemed a little disappointed, but eventually, they left and asked me if I could at least unblock them so they could keep in touch. I have unblocked my parents, which feels weird, but yeah, I guess that's it.